It's been over a week after a meeting of opposition parties in Patna where they met to hammer out a unified front to take on a hegemonic BJP. Much has happened since, and in this episode of Talking Politics, we will be looking at these developments and how they look like developing in the future. Welcome to another episode of Talking Politics with me, Nistula Hebbar. And as I said earlier, the opposition meet in Patna and the consequences so far will be the subject of this episode. This was, of course, not the first attempt for oppositional unity. Indeed, whenever there has been a growth of a hegemonical political party or system, opposition parties, small in parts but a sizable presence nevertheless, have gotten together to challenge the ruling dispensation. In the past, it used to be the Congress. Then we had a period of a bipolar polity where there was one set of coalitions around the BJP, another around the Congress, and now we have the banding together of parties to take on the BJP, which occupies the pole position in Indian politics at the moment. So let's go back a little bit on previous attempts at hammering out an oppositional unity in independent India's democratic politics. Now, if one looks at the history of oppositional groupings from 1967, when the first such experiment under the socialist leader Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia was undertaken, it resulted in the Samyukta Vidhayak Dal governments in various states. I think around 11 states. And if you cut to even 2019, there have been attempts at opposition unity, but it has been a bit of a hit and miss. In many cases, the oppositional unity succeeded in getting the incumbent ruling party out, but provided no stability or coherence in government, uh, and therefore had a very short lifespan when they were elected to power. This has, of course, affected the optimism with which people view such attempts, and that hasn't changed in all these years. Now, in 1967, as I was saying, it was over land revenue issues that the cracks finally appeared between the Charan Singh led Lokdal bloc, which is quite sizable, and the then Jan Sangh. In 1977, the anti-emergency coalition of socialists, the Jan Sangh, which had merged with the Janata Party later, they came to power but broke up when internecine uh, uh, power struggles took over, and there were very strong characters there. Of course, you had to be to take on a Congress led by Indira Gandhi and to fight against the emergency. But the strength of character also meant that consensus and bridging gaps and coming to a particular decision, all of those things were problematic. There were also ideological differences. And finally, when socialists like Raj Narayan raised the issue that Jansangh leaders who had joined the Janata Party let go of the dual membership of the RSS. Either they remain fully with the Janata Party or they remain members of the RSS. They cannot be both. That is when the Jansangh members decided to break away in 1979-80 and formed what we now know as the BJP. After that, BJP has never contemplated merging its entity to another. And that also led to the demise of the Janata experiment of 1977. In 1989, when the National Front government under VP Singh won a fragile majority, it was propped up by the communists and the BJP. In modern times, it's extremely difficult to imagine a scenario where both the communist parties and the BJP are on the same side. But as it happens, and as has been demonstrated by the fact that it had the communists and the BJP on one side, the coalition had too many internal contradictions which could not survive the chaos after VP Singh's move to implement the recommendations of the Mandal Commission for reservations for OBCs in government jobs and educational institutions. There was a huge upper caste backlash to that. And BJP leader Lal Krishna Advani's arrest in Bihar by the Lalu Prasad Yadav led government during the Ram Rath Yatra. So Ram Rath Yatra was the catalyst to pulling support, the BJP pulling support from the VP Singh government, and that government falling uh, down. We had a very small period where Mr. Chandrasekhar was the prime minister, propped up by the Congress. Again, that was a very, very short period of time. But 1989 also signaled the era of coalition. So for after 1989, for 30 years, either we had a minority Congress government, 1991 to 96 under P.V. Narasimha Rao, or we had coalition governments, the United Front and the NDA and the UPA governments till 2014. The 1996 to 98 United Front government, in fact, was the only third front government. That is, it had neither the BJP nor the Congress and was made up of socialists, communists, and regional parties. And it had outside support from the Congress, a situation where the Congress was not yet non-hegemonic, but the BJP's Hindutva rhetoric on the Ram temple made it a political untouchable for the socialists and the communists and the regional parties which depended on the minority vote. That government also fell due to the to Congress withdrawing support because they fancied their chances in the next uh, general elections. So the NDA government, which ran a full term plus 13 months before that. So from 1998 to 99, you had a 13-month Vajpayee government, which fell. And then you had general elections again. Vajpayee was re-elected prime minister as the head of the NDA in 1999 and ran the government till 2004. This was the first ever coalition government to complete a full term. It was a mammoth coalition, nearly 22 parties at one point of time, and it worked largely because of pragmatism. The BJP agreed to set aside its core issues of the construction of a Ram temple in Ayodhya, abrogating Article 370 for Jammu and Kashmir, and a demand for a uniform civil code. So this was basically, they had done this. They said, okay, we have to bring about a coalition. We have to work it out. We can't have our coalition partners attacking us every time we move ahead on our core issues. So we set them aside. And we say we come together on a common minimum program for governance. And because till now, the BJP was known for raising issues of Hindu consciousness and Hindutva, but rather not about governance. In fact, when in the Janasangh, the then Janasangh had the electoral symbol of a lit lamp, like a diya, the Hindi word of diya. The Congress always used to have a slogan to emphasize this very flaw or lack in the Jansangh, which is that Jansangh ke diyo mein tel nahi, shasan karna koi khel nahi. That governance is not a game and the Jansangh lamp is out of oil. So this was another deliverable that had to be done by the BJP. Not only, they had already proved that they were adept at mass movements around Hindu consciousness issues, and they wanted to add the patina of a party of governance to its image, because going forward, the electorate would give importance to that, because till then it was only the Congress party that could claim that it ran a government or ran several governments for the full term that they were voted in for. So in 2004, after the Vajpayee government lost elections, there was the UPA under the Congress, which came to power. The Congress sat together with the left and its other regional allies and hammered out a CMP, or a common minimum program, and in fact let go of a lot of major economic reforms to tread a more cautious line to appease its allies in the CPM and the CPI. Now, that alliance broke in 2008 when the government insisted on going ahead with the Indo-US nuclear deal. This was fiercely opposed by the left, and the left walked out of the government, and there was a trust vote that was done, after which the Manmohan Singh government prevailed in that trust vote, and the Manmohan Singh government was voted back to power. And the Congress came back stronger, and it had the Trinamool Congress rather than the left as its allies, because at that point of time, the left had also started to decline in West Bengal quite majorly. So, this is the story of coalition governments, some which worked and some didn't. Since 2014, we have seen two full majority governments under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Hence, the efforts by the opposition to go back to what had worked earlier. So, what had worked earlier is that you have one big hegemonic party, you get the others together who have their vote share, who have their circles and areas of influence, band together, either put across a common candidate in seats where they are not directly opposing each other, or give way in terms of seat adjustment to parties which are stronger. But this has always been a problematic exercise with regional parties not quite ready to hand over the leadership position to the Congress against the BJP, because they think that the Congress has weakened electorally, never mind the recent triumph of the party in Karnataka. And also smaller parties have had their own issues which they are not willing to let go of. A prime example of that is the Aam Aadmi Party and its Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who attended the meeting in Patna hosted by Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, who has taken on for himself the role of trying to get together an oppositional unity bloc. Now, even before any broad agreement could be reached, Mr. Kejriwal, according to a story done by my colleague Shobna Nair, demanded a guarantee from the Congress that it would support the AAP government's opposition to the Delhi Ordinance, which snatched back powers of the Delhi government when it came to the bureaucracy, handing it over to the Lieutenant Governor. The ordinance was in response to a court order which said that the Delhi government had rights over transfers and postings, etc., of the bureaucracy serving Delhi. Now, this kind of insistence on a guarantee being given before anything else was to be decided by the opposition grouping, was not taken well by the Congress, who felt a strong feeling of deja vu about how Mr. Kejriwal used to insist that he get assurances in writing from the then UPA government on the Lokpal bill. Now, Mr. Kejriwal's anti-corruption movement was one of the reasons for the fall of the second UPA government in 2014. So it's not as if there were already a happy relationship between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, but the Congress felt that one needed to take everybody along, and therefore they were willing to sit across all sorts of parties which opposed them very bitterly on their particular turfs. Now, he also managed to irritate not just the Congress, but Omar Abdullah of the National Conference. He said that again, the meeting of the opposition parties, where you've got opposition parties from across the country, it cannot be held hostage for one issue. One needs to decide a lot of things, and the Aam Aadmi Party had better move on. And West Bengal Chief Minister also rebuked Mr. Kejriwal, said that as suggested by Congress President Mr. Kharge, this was something that Mr. Kejriwal needed to talk separately about with Mr. Kharge. So, Mr. Kejriwal therefore did not appear at the joint press conference held by the opposition leaders, who announced that a broad agreement was reached on the need to fight the BJP, and a further meeting in Shimla had been proposed to work on the modalities of seat sharing and electoral adjustments. In an interview done by my colleague Nikhil Babu, AAP leader Dr. Sandeep Pathak said that the AAP was out of the proposed oppositional unity group. So they were going to fight on their own. So that's one gone. Later in the week, the Congress also made it clear that the opposition grouping will not include the Bharata Rashtra Samiti, which was known as the Telangana Rashtra Samiti in the past. This is the ruling party in Telangana, as assembly polls were due there, and the Congress was the main challenger of the TRS. Far more than that, the Congress also felt that the BRS's major recruitment drive in Maharashtra, they've set up a state unit there and they've attracted a lot of people from the NCP and the Congress to join them. It was being done as a vote-cutting exercise aimed at the opposition Mahavikas Aghadi coalition, of itself, the Shiv Sena and the NCP. Basically, the Congress accused the BRS of being the B team of the BJP, of some sort of a deal being cut between the BRS and the BJP, saying, okay, Telangana, the BJP will go softly there as long as the BRS managed a vote cutting exercise in Maharashtra. How much that is true, we don't know, but this was the thinking within the Congress. Now, the developments therefore make clear at least two lessons of the past, or two or three lessons of the past holding true for this round as well. One, that coalitions only succeed in governance terms when one big party is the fulcrum. And therefore, in this case, the Congress has to be at the center of the grouping. It will be more convincing to the people as a coherent group when that happens. Secondly, sacrifices need to be made of individual interests for the sake of unity, which Mr. Kejriwal, in his impatience, demonstrated he was not ready for. Finally, totally mutually opposed parties cannot be in the same coalition as in the case of the BRS and the Congress. Now, with further meetings lined up, beating into shape of a new coalition to take on the BJP will take some time. This is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for watching.